Hi everyone, today we are talking to Dr. Harish Singla. Sir, first of all, thank you very much for coming and
Thank
talking to
you.
us in an
My pleasure.
informal environment.
My
And
pleasure.
sir, prefer to talk like this because cabin में बैठ के ना वो then I can ask you formal question. अभी मैं चाहता हूँ हमारे साथ बैठ के हमारे साथ बात करें. Sir is the dean of NICMAR Business School.
Right.
So my first question is regarding the interview skills. के student जब interview में लिए आपके सामने आता है, so how you judge a student? How will you find out कि वो अच्छा बच्चा है कि बुरा बच्चा है? What are the few things you check first?
I think this is the most difficult question you have asked me. But I tell you frankly, when we conduct the interview, there are 2-3 parts of it. So apart from the basic educational background and the knowledge, what we really look at in a candidate is the spark, the attitude. If a student has the right kind of attitude, willingness to learn, we appreciate that as an interviewer. But the moment we find a student who is very rigid and shows an attitude of
मेरे को सब
not
आता है.
learning कि मुझे सब आता है मतलब or tries to be over smart in itself, trying to display that he knows a lot, whereas genuinely when we probe we find कि there's no substance. Then sometimes as an interviewer we then try to close the interview as soon as possible. Of course, you don't want to offend anybody, you don't want to give a message that you're not the one which we want, but then you try and close the interview as soon as possible.
Correct. Sir, अभी if I'm suppose coming for the interview, आपने बोला कि attitude for learning. So मैं कुछ ऐसा कर सकता हूँ क्या, मैं कुछ ऐसा वो जाल बिछा सकता था स्टूडेंट कि जिससे आपको लगे कि हाँ यार ये बंदा लर्निंग के लिए कोर्सेज में, if I do a couple of courses regarding some finance or marketing where I want to be, so will that help?
Yes, it does help. It does help because when we probe, then you have an opportunity to mold the interview towards the direction in which you see. Every student has that opportunity to take the interviewer to the direction they want to take it.
Correct.
It's a skill. Now, if the student is good enough to do it, I would say 70% of the job is done. So you must have one unique skill set, and you should be very good at that skill set, whether it is finance, analytics, marketing, HR,
Experience, maybe work
sports,
experience, anything.
public speaking, extempores, anything. It could be anything, but you have to have a forte, and somewhere down the line in your interview that should reflect. So if you're very good at sports, if you've done something in sports, you have to somehow pitch that into the discussion and make it as your the strongest point. And don't give excuses for some. For example, many a times we see the marks are continuously low for a student, and when we ask why your marks are continuously low, they try and give lame excuses. I was unwell during this particular period, or I was not very serious. Now I would be serious. Then these we get a sense. Okay, these are just the pretended answers, not the real answers.
Correct. और पता चल जाता है. So like if you are interviewing a guy who is half your age, और वो कब कितनी फेंक रहा है वो पता चलता है सामने.
तो और कई बार ठीक है मिसकैलकुलेशन भी होता है इस प्रोसेस में, but more or less you get a sense of that this guy is genuine when he is talking, is telling the truth, or we get to know that okay, 80% of it is truth.
सब पता चल रहा, तुम जो तुम्हारा पानी में सब पता चलता है. Okay, so great. So now we'll talk about the NICMAR Business School. So we have NICMAR, which is famous for construction across the country.
Management, project management.
So when this business school started, what was the main agenda for that? To copy paste the same concept into general business as well, to start something fresh?
Yeah. So let me clarify this for the students also. NICMAR has a legacy of 40 years. We have huge alumni network. NICMAR has produced construction managers, project managers, people in the quantity surveying. The NICMARians are working throughout the globe. The idea of creating a business school in this setup is to create another niche for themselves. So when we say NICMAR Business School, we are basically offering the management programs, but the management programs with a difference. So we are not offering the conventional specializations which a normal management institution would kind of offer. Yet we are not going to create this as a mirror image of the construction management program.
Right. Correct. So, sir, now you can apply through for NICMAR Business School and other programs through CAT, all the MBA entrance exams.
Yeah.
Link मैंने इसका description box में डाल दिया. And the forms are still open. The last date is coming if you want to apply for that. So, sir, is there any kind of eligibility criteria that you need to be engineer and need to have work experience?
No. Any graduate can apply for NICMAR Business School. So there's no restriction on in terms of whether you have to be a civil engineer or a mechanical engineer. It's any graduate fulfilling the basic eligibility criteria can apply for NICMAR Business School by going through our website. The details are provided on the website.
Right.
So they can apply.
And it's more than that. It's about the interview, how you're going to answer the question.
Right. So it is more in terms of how do you perform in your interview, and that is where we basically assess a candidate and we shortlist a candidate. So it finally comes down to that.
Correct. So my last question is about the gap year. अगर किसी की रात की नींद उड़ानी है ना बच्चे की, उसको एक क्वेश्चन पूछ लो, तो अगर गैप ईयर है ना, तेरा तो कुछ नहीं हो सकता, वो गया बेचारे की एक रात गई आज.
Yeah. So we over past 7-8 years in NICMAR, we do get students, and when we interview, so I think, in fact, my first trigger point is when the form is in front of me, I'll see whether there is a gap in the academics or not. Because I'm not saying having a gap is something which is a black spot in your mark sheet or in your form, but we also try and to probe the justification of it, why there is a gap. Many a times the gap is there because of some personal reason, financial issues are there, sometimes family, some unforeseen event happens in family, because of which there could be gaps. I would advise students that if there are gaps, they should somehow have a proper documentation of that, which I feel students don't keep a backup of. So, for example, how do they make sure that for that gap year they have a character certificate with them, so that if somebody inquires that why there is a gap and what were you doing in this particular 1 year period or 2 year period, there is an adequate document in the hand of student to justify that yes, I had a gap, but this was the reasoning. So maybe when the student is leaving an academia for some place, they should get it approved from that institution that okay, I'm taking an academic break. Okay, so that there is some documentary evidence to support
your excuse. Right. Otherwise, what I have heard about this thing is we are not checking for uska answer kya hai. Just checking how he answer the question.
Yes. But my advice to students is that to be very if they want to be absolutely sure about that this gap does not affect them in their future also, they have to have a documentation.
Better do that.
Yeah, better to do that rather than trying to figure it out or trying to find solutions or to give answers. If they have a documentation, there's no point justifying.
So if I've taken the gap year because of medical, so jo bhi
medical records, you can submit your medical history.
And if I've taken because of my MBA preparation, that मुझे MBA की तैयारी करनी है, मैंने drop लिया, तो maybe your CAT score, CET score.
Something. If you have given, let's say you have given 2 attempts of MAT or CAT or whatever examination, those can be attached.
Correct.
Those documents can be attached. So something of that sort.
Correct.
Just to justify that yes, I have taken a gap because of this reason.
Great, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And sir, first time, frankly, I'm getting a response from the other side of the table. Later, I always get a very diplomatic answers from everyone. So thank you, sir. Thank you.
Nice to hear. Thank you.